You've reached Conspiracies Condensed, where the unbelievable becomes undeniable. The lies, the cover-ups, the classified experiments they hoped you'd never see. We expose what really happened, piece by piece, file by file. Subscribe now and don't blink. The truth moves fast. Operation Paperclip, the Nazi scientists brought to America. In 1945, the Second World War ended, but a new war began almost immediately. One fought in intelligence offices, secret labs, and closed-door strategy meetings rather than battlefields. As U.S. forces pushed deeper into Germany, they discovered technology that was decades ahead of anything the Allies possessed, including advanced rockets, jet propulsion, experimental aircraft prototypes, and research that bordered on science fiction. Washington quickly realized that if America didn't seize these breakthroughs, the Soviets would, and the balance of the future would shift overnight. So a decision was made behind classified doors to recruit the enemy, not soldiers or politicians, but Nazi scientists capable of shaping the next era of warfare and technology. The secret bargain. Within days of Germany's surrender, Allied intelligence teams swept across the crumbling empire, not to arrest soldiers, but to hunt scientists whose research could tip the future. Many of these men openly embraced Nazism, held SS rank, and oversaw forced labor or lethal experiments. Yet Washington ignored morality in favor of results. Wernher von Braun, architect of the V-2 rocket that killed thousands in London, became the most valuable target. And when officers found his hidden documents buried in a mine shaft, they seized them and delivered von Braun a blunt choice: work for America or be taken by the Soviets. Behind closed doors, ethics disappeared and progress, at any cost, became U.S. policy. Scrubbing the past, new identities. The U.S. government now needed to bring these men into America without igniting outrage. So, intelligence officers took the simplest route. They erased the truth. Files were rewritten to remove Nazi affiliations. SS memberships vanished from records, and war crime allegations were deleted, as Operation Paperclip earned its name from the paperclips marking falsified dossiers. Experts linked to human experimentation, such as Walter Schreiber and Hubertus Strughold, received new resumes, new biographies, and sometimes new identities. The justification remained the same. If America didn't take them, the Soviets would. Chapter 4. The Rocket Factory in the Desert. Under the cover of night, German scientists were flown across the Atlantic and transported to Fort Bliss, Texas, where a barren army base and the test range at White Sands became their new laboratory. At makeshift launch sites filled with scavenged V-2 parts, von Braun's team reconstructed rockets piece by piece, while soldiers learned to operate technology they barely understood. These men were not treated as prisoners, but as assets whose knowledge could push America to the edge of space, and each successful launch helped bury another piece of their Nazi past. Dark baggage. By the late 1940s, Paperclip was no longer just importing engineers. It was importing men whose resumes were built on human suffering, as Nuremberg trial records described experiments involving torture, freezing, suffocation, and chemical exposure on prisoners. Hubertus Strughold, later praised as the father of space medicine, had been involved in lethal altitude tests at Dachau, while Walter Schreiber, tied to biological warfare experiments, was quietly protected and flown into the United States. Inside government offices, objections collapsed under one repeated phrase: national security. A nation kept in the dark. While these former Nazis settled into American neighborhoods, the public remained unaware that war criminals were being welcomed into the country under government protection. Congress requested files on certain scientists, yet the Pentagon delivered edited dossiers stripped of incriminating evidence, and a special security unit was assigned to conceal anything that could reveal the truth. Documents mentioning forced labor or experimentation were removed or classified, Reporters were misdirected or silenced, and even the White House wasn't given full disclosure. New lives, new lies. These scientists did not arrive as fugitives. They arrived as neighbors, moving into quiet suburbs in Texas, Alabama, and Ohio, where they blended into ordinary American life. Von Braun became a popular figure at Fort Bliss, smiling in photographs and speaking fluent English. While few people knew how many prisoners died constructing his V-2 rockets in underground camps, others took positions at universities and research facilities, teaching students who admired them, unaware their professors once served the Third Reich. Behind polished introductions and new identities remained a truth that would never appear on their resumes. Race to space. By the 1950s, the Cold War shifted from land and sea to the sky, and eventually to space. And when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik in 1957, the United States was humiliated on the world stage. Suddenly, Operation Paperclip changed from an uncomfortable secret into a national priority, and von Braun's German team was relocated to Huntsville, Alabama, where the Army built an entire rocket city around them. These former enemy nationals received security clearances, government badges, and authority to lead critical research as military leaders focused on only one question: could they beat the Soviets to space? Their answer was yes. From Nazis to NASA. In 1960, Operation Paperclip crossed a symbolic line when von Braun and his team were transferred to a new civilian agency dedicated to exploring space, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. Von Braun soon appeared in magazines, newspapers, and even Disney films explaining space travel to American families who had no idea of his erased SS past. When Apollo 11 reached the moon in 1969, using the Saturn V rocket designed by von Braun's team, the world celebrated a triumph of human achievement without knowing that part of that success was built on knowledge acquired under a dictatorship. The hidden cost of progress. For decades, Operation Paperclip remained buried beneath classification and altered records, justified by the belief that victory in the Cold War required any means necessary. When documents were declassified in the 1980s and 1990s, the truth emerged that many advances in medicine, engineering, and rocket technology were shaped by men whose pasts were tied to forced labor, experimentation, and death. The United States didn't just recruit scientists, it absorbed pieces of the very regime it vowed to destroy, leaving a legacy of progress built on moral compromise. Today, when we look at the moon with pride, we also face the uncomfortable truth that some achievements are built on secrets the world was never meant to see. Thank you for joining us. History is full of buried truths, and together, we're digging them out. If you found value in this episode, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss the next revelation. Stay curious, stay awake.